Aloha, Brett Christensen here with Maui Property. Today we're doing an awesome video about the 5 things that you really need to think about before buying a home. So today I'm going to explain to you what I like to call bacon. Have you ever put a lot of time into buying something, you put your whole heart into it and it just doesn't go well? It could be you're shopping on Amazon, you read the reviews, you think you know what you're getting, and the thing shows up and it's actually not what you wanted. And then you got to go through the whole return process, and that's just not fun. Well, imagine that happened to you with a house. It's way more complicated than just putting it back in the mail, sending it back to Amazon. When you commit to buying a house, that's a big commitment, and it's amazing how many people rush through the process. I'm here today to share with you some of my wisdom, and we're going to go over bacon. All right, so this is going to help you remember some of these things. So number 1 is budget. Now, budget is important no matter what you're doing in life, but when it comes to buying a house, it can get a little tricky because number 1, if you're financed, you got to go through your lender and get pre-qualified, and that's a whole process. It's a whole nother video. But before you go house shopping, you got to figure out your budget. You should not be looking at houses until you figured out your budget, and that's going to be coming from either your lender or what's in your bank account if you're a cash buyer. And then, of course, you got to factor in there's other costs beyond what you're spending on that house. There's remodel costs to monthly costs. You want to have some money in the bank, of course, when you're buying a property. And I always say, the more you spend, usually the less the property will cost you. So you really want to, when you buy a property, you want to put that budget. If you think you feel comfortable here, you might want to go here, because when you go here, then it might be you get that property that has an additional rental unit. You get that rental unit, your cost is going to be down here because you have money coming in that's going to put your actual monthly expense down here, and over time that's just going to go lower and lower. So something to think about. Okay, next we're going to go over the A in bacon: area, location, location, location. You've probably heard this before. It's absolutely true. It doesn't matter what you do to your property. If the area your home is in, your property, if that area is going down, your value might go down too. You could put in a pool, you could put in an addition, you could do all this stuff, but if that area is going down, you really want to think twice about how you invest in that property. If you're living in an area that's just going down, you might be better served just renting, honestly. So you really want to get to know the areas before you actually are even looking at houses. And how can you do that? You can do that very simply by driving around, going eating at restaurants, talking to people. This is not a rushed process. You really want to invest time in getting to know the different areas. Here on Maui, I recommend people come and rent even, and get to know these areas before you just jump in and buy a house. Maybe you never even lived on the island before. It's not a bad idea to rent first, or at least come here on vacation and maybe stay and rent short term in different places. Get to know the areas, go eat breakfast, go have lunch, go have dinner, talk to people. Really invest time into getting to know the areas. All right, the C in bacon: condition. Okay, this is something where, because I have an extensive construction and design background, this is where I think bring value to the table as an agent, and having a good agent representing you when you're looking at condition is important. Now, of course, when you get in a contract on a property, you almost always are going to have an inspection period. If you wrote that into the contract, it's usually in there. So you do get to know the condition of the property, hopefully before you've fully committed to buying it. But ideally, you want to be looking at this stuff as you're shopping. And this is where a lot of people get into trouble when it comes back to the budget, because if you don't fully understand the condition of a home and you think it's a good deal it's a fixer-upper. Fixer-uppers often are not worth the discounted price that you're paying, because if you actually add up all the stuff you got to spend to get it up to speed, it can be way more than just buying a house that's in good condition. And sometimes you don't really know it. You're opening a can of worms, especially on some of these older homes, which I own, and I am speaking from experience here. It's a never-ending process. If you're buying a very old home, you maybe got to replace all the electric. You got plumbing issues. I had a pipe in my house, cast iron pipe that just disintegrated, and it actually let dirt in, and it created like a little mini sinkhole, and then it let the whole thing backed up, and it was a mess. So I had to dig up my whole yard and replace a whole section of plumbing underground. So it's just a little example for you. When I'm walking through a house, I'm looking under the house, I'm looking at mechanicals, and often there's little red flags. You always want to pay attention to the red flags. A little bit of termite damage here in Hawaii honestly isn't that big a deal to me if it's just a little bit, because it's so common. We get these drywood termites nibbling here, nibbling there. But if you're looking around, what about like major systems like the electrical systems, like I mentioned, air conditioning systems, the roof? How about part of condition? I actually put just the layout. A bad layout, if a house has been added on to over and over and over, and it just has a terrible layout and poor construction, that's a hard thing to fix. Do not think a fixer-upper is a good deal just because the price is low. All right, now we're moving on. Offer of the bacon. Your offer. This part of the process, especially in the last couple of years, has been a tricky part. And this is where your agent can play a big role in helping you get to the top of the stack. When you find that house that you want, and it's the house for you, it's probably the house for 10 other people. Just recently, there was a property that my client just fell in love with, and I think it might have been priced a little low. There were 13 offers on the table. We were cash, and we tried our best, but my client, he was just on the edge of his comfort zone on how much we were offering, and there's someone else out there willing to swing harder, swing for the fences, and definitely beat him out on price, way over asking price. So the offer, think of poker. I always use a poker comparison. You have the listing agent that is like the dealer at the table, right? And then anybody else making an offer is just like a player at the table. So there might be as many as 15 people at the table, and they all got their hand, and what they choose to play is sometimes they're going to go all in, sometimes they aren't fully attached. So you never know really what cards people are playing. You don't know what their offer price is. You might get some hints from the listing agent. They might say they're over asking. But in this situation, what I recommend is you gotta do your homework. You can't just rely on your agent. It's your agent's job to help educate you on the comparable sales in that area. When you're thinking about your offer, you gotta educate yourself on what are the recent sales in that area, and what did they sell for? What do you think? What do you feel inside? What do you really think this property is worth? Because if you're going just off of the list price, that might steer you in the wrong direction. There was one deal where there were 22 offers on the table, and our client, we got that deal for our client. And what made the difference was our client did his homework, we did our homework, and when we wrote down that number, it was a big number beyond what the list price was. And I tell you what, he loves that property. It has gone way up in value. It's worth way more than what he paid. It was a little bit of a fixer-upper, but he got a great deal on it, and he's so happy about that house. He knows he got a good deal on it, and he was way over the ask price. Okay, last one of bacon, nurture. Okay, this is an investment at the end of the day. If you're buying real estate and you're not seeing it as an investment, you better be loaded. I don't care how much money you have. Buying real estate is number one, an investment. Yes, you're going to live there, but maybe not forever. And ideally, when comes time to move on, you can either rent the property out, or even while you're living there, you can rent it out. I think way too many people have it stuck in their heads that buying a property is just something like buying a car. It's something I need. It's something I want to own. Therefore, I'm going to go buy the house. I don't personally agree with that. I think, when you buy a property, it's something that you're going to be nurturing, you're going to be investing into, you're going to be adding to it, and you ideally want that investment to kick out a return. You don't want it to just cost money, and that's going to require you to have a long-term plan. When you plant a tree, what's your plan? What kind of tree is it? How big is it going to get? You want to think of this as like a extremely long, a lifelong investment. There's an old saying that, when is the best time to buy real estate? Now. When is the best time to sell? Never. Unless it's something toxic. I would suggest if you're buying real estate, never sell it. See it as an investment that can have cash flow, in the future you live there for a while, but maybe you rent spaces out while you're living there, ideally multi-unit property. And I feel like I see too many people just hung up on the idea of I'm gonna buy a house with the picket fence, that whole concept. Think of it, number one, as an investment. When you're shopping houses, ideally it's something with at least one rental unit, unless you're in a situation where your income is super stable, your job is stable, and that's a luxury, I think, to think that you can have a house all to yourself. Think of this property as something that also, maybe you only live there for 5 years and eventually you move on to the next one, and you keep that and you manage it, and it's cash flowing for you. Think long term and think investment. Okay, that is the end of the video today. I hope this 5 things to know before buying a home. Hope this helps you. Hope you, nobody ever, everyone likes bacon. So hopefully the bacon helps you a little bit when you're out there shopping. If you're thinking about, what was Brett talking about? Bacon, budget, area, condition, offer, and nurture. All right. So we covered some good stuff today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If it helped you, please like our channel. Please subscribe. We're kicking out real estate content all the time. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. That's awesome. You take care. Aloha.